All right, there's days at the end of the day I don't really feel like making a wrap-up video or highlight video, whatever you want to call it, because it just wasn't my best day. And then I got to thinking about today's. There's some pretty good trading lessons out of today, so I am going to share what happened. First, solar. We had on watch just because of the big volume and price spike yesterday. Didn't know if we would find a trade in it. Okay, well then we're just plodding along. And a couple members in our chat room posted when it looked like this. You get this big volume. Look at that, almost 1 million shares in 5 minutes. You get this volume spike. Someone else posted it was news out of Germany on solars, and I didn't really understand how it was going to affect First Solar. Okay, so but it's interesting because it had such a huge day yesterday and then sold off all morning. This had a pretty good chance of getting a nice rally again. Okay, when people start seeing volume pouring into it. So whenever I see a volume spike like this, I don't really want to try to decipher the news because I might read it wrong or I might not understand it. And subsidies, where they're having indecision on subsidies or whatever the news was out of Germany, I'm not smart enough to know if First Solar is going to benefit from that or not. So what I do is switch to 2-minute candles. All right, here we go. These are 2-minute candles now, and it's just sort of a default. I just default to twos. There's no magic in it, and there's no guarantees it's going to work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what it does do is now I let the battle ensue, right? Buyers and sellers just having it out here. So when I switch to twos, I've got a high, and let's get the drawing tool going. Okay, and I had this projected onto everybody's screen in the chat room. I have a high and then a lower high. Okay, and this could have kept putting in lower highs. I had no idea what was going to happen. But what I look to do is take the first break of a previous 2-minute candle's high. Okay, so this one right here had a high of 1424. This one was maybe 1435. I don't know. And what this does is I can just kind of jump on the winning side, all right? Because this could have just as easily rolled over. Now, if it did this, put in a lower high, and just kept putting in lower highs and round tripped all the way back to where it started, I would have just left it alone, okay? Because to me that means, all right, whoever jumped in here was wrong. That's going to be pressure on it for any kind of rally. Anyway, so here's the trigger. Whoops. There's the trigger, 1425. Worst case stop is going to go down here at 14. These are 2-minute candles, so look, that's 2 minutes, 4 minutes. About 4 minutes later, it's up to 1465 and actually did another spike up to 1472. I grabbed it here and was just a big seller here. Now I was hoping it was going to take out its early high. I kept a few with a break-even stop, hoping it was going to take out this early high and really rip, because if it would have started printing new highs for the day, after that huge rally yesterday, I think they would have piled into it. Shorts would have had to cover again. Couldn't quite get there though, but using the twos gave us a long here, and almost a quick 40 cents, I think. Literally in 2 or 3, 4 minutes, something like that. And again, I always sell into a gift like that. Kept a few and actually got stopped out on my last few right here as it came back down. All right, so there's a sort of a trading lesson on how to play a big volume spike. Expedia, let me show you this one. Okay, another good trading lesson here. This wasn't huge, but it was a nice little trade. Expedia gaps down on huge volume. Remember, if you've seen any of our other videos, you know I spend the first 10 or 15 minutes just mapping out symbols that have unusual volume, throwing them on charts for potential trades later that day. All right. So Expedia, you get this big gap down, I think just on a downgrade, and if you've seen the daily on Expedia, super strong. So then it bounces up. First of all, it puts in an opening 5-minute candle. It takes that out to the takes the high of that out. All right. So if anything, I'm leaning long now on any kind of setup because it never did come down and take out the lows of the day. All right. So anyone that's shorted down here, I'm looking at is in trouble. Anyway, sellers come in here and push it down. Sellers come in here. These are the two moving averages I use, the 8 and the 20 on 5-minute candles. Sellers came in at the 8, pushed it down. Came in at the 20, pushed it down. But you notice they're not really pushing it down. They're never even coming close to testing the lows of the day. Hit the 20 again here, push it down, and then this a little spike through the 20. All right, this is when it became interesting to me. All right, sellers just not doing that well. All right, then you get this little pullback. All right, so this is when I called it. I said over this spike, you're through the 520, you got to pull back. Couldn't even push it down to the recent lows. Called it long, 47.52, 47. I think stop at 47. Below this recent low here, 47.28. Okay, and here's what happens. had this projected onto the member screens. There's the trigger, and these are 5-minute candles, so it really took about 5 minutes from 47.52 to 47.80. Again, not a huge move, and I was hoping that we would have got through the high of the day, and I think Expedia could have really ripped, but I think just too much pressure. The market couldn't get going. It based for a while, finally rolled over. But I was a seller into the spike, just like First Solar. Kept a few to see if I could get that crazy move through the high of the day in the rally. And once it came back to my entry, I was back out. So nothing to brag about, but you know, like I said, is it worth making a wrap-up video today? And to me, these explanations of the entry ideas, hopefully, you'll feel that they're worth it. DNDN. Now this is one that makes me look stupid. All right, DNDN made the early volume list this morning. All right, and then on this pullback in this area around 640, around 650, I switched to 2-minute candles. All right, trying to get a real clean, quick entry. Now look what happens. There's the trigger. First break of a previous two's high, 656. I said I'm going to make it take out the low of the day before I'm out, okay? 641. So 15 cents risk. Look what happens. Goes down, takes out my stop, and that was literally the low of the day. So, well, I'm sorry, the next candle was the low of the day. And then after this spike, we did have, excuse me, members playing it just like I talked about First Solar, okay? You get this spike. By the way, that's horrible. A buy here and a stop out here, and then look at the chart. Okay, but on this spike, you've got a volume spike. Notice 2-minute candles. Look what happens. Instead of just guessing, if you thought DNDN was going to get through the high of the day, you can play this volume spike just like I showed you on First Solar. All right, sellers come in. 2-minute candles. Now you've got a high and a lower high. You want to go long the first break of a previous 2-minute candles high. Once you know you've got a strong stock, okay. 694 would have been the entry, which happened right here, and your stop goes below the 2-candle low there, and pretty quickly to 740, and ultimately went over 750. So there's another example of using twos, and that might have been it for the day. There were a couple late in the day that were super interesting to me. I just couldn't get an entry. Starbucks, who ended up calling one here, bottom feeding, and ended up taking a flat. I won't go into the method here, but suffice it to say, it came down, had support in this area on the daily, had fallen a long way to get here. Great bottom feeding idea, and just chopped sideways, ended up taking a flat. When the market tanked, I said I'm back out, okay? And then it went down further. Just could not find a call in it. The same time, Macy's was doing the same thing. Macy's had nice support at 35, and when it came down to 35, I started watching it and just couldn't find, it just started chopping around. I couldn't find a clean entry. And this is how it closed, right around 35. There it is on the daily. So you see the support there. So there was two that I was stalking, flat and Starbucks, and I just couldn't find an entry in Macy's. One of our members, Gabriel, posted racks at the same time that met our potential final push down parameters when it looked like this. Typically the play would be a break of the previous fives high, like I said, 40.78. And pretty nice move to almost 41.50. So I know Gabriel played that one. I was messing with Starbucks and Macy's at the time, making no money, and racks was the play. A perfect setup there. Gabriel took advantage of that. And that's it, guys. So, I mean, hopefully there's some trading lessons in there, even though I didn't have a stellar day. Hopefully it was worth showing. All right, we'll talk to you later.